don't say anything too personal.
No.
This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net. And if you heard us whispering before I started, hey, forget it. That wasn't us. Um, th- this is a new day. It's
Yes.
Monday, and we'll usually come to you on Tuesday. Um, but it's a holiday week or almost a holiday week. So we decided to be different. And so it is now time for What in the World with?
Oh, let's see. I'm a day ahead. So, but I'm still Paul Sebring.
Yes, you are. Yes, you
Yes,
are.
yes.
Yep.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing just great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Okay, so here we are on a Monday afternoon with What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news show. I'm here with Karen Hale, our producer and media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our platform, and with John Dinalo, our sports guy, media sub mogul. Um, Here, you got to don't ask for a raise, John. I gave you a new
Yeah,
responsibility.
exactly.
Hey, that's fine. I'm good with that.
Our trivia guy and color commentator and all that good stuff. So we're here once a week, except this week we're here once every 6 days for a limited time only. So get it now. And we're here to talk about all the weird and wonderful, wacky stuff that's going on around the world that you don't hear on any other news source, any other television station, podcast. I think we're unique in what we do, bringing you the weird news from around the world. And when I say news, our motto is real news, sometimes strange, always funny, because it really is real news that I gather from all my various sources from around the world, sometimes around the universe. We cover we cover the gamut, and have a good time doing it. That's the whole point to come.
Yes, we do.
You
Yes,
don't
we
hear
do.
about there you go. We don't hear about the bad news, the political news, the business news, all the tragedies and that kind of stuff. We try to keep things light and interesting. You always learn something on What in the World, I think. John certainly does.
Absolutely.
And yeah, he at least remembers.
Yes, I do, Paul. Yes.
There's
Yes.
the
And
difference
I
between
make the
John.
effort to do that, Karen. Yeah, as
That's
well.
good. Yes, you do. Which is a good thing because we occasionally have to call upon him to remind us. And as I said, Karen's the media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our platform. Yeah, hopefully, if you're listening to us live, thank you for being here. If you're watching on YouTube in the future, thank you for joining us. Please follow us. If you're on any of those other things, the Apple Podcasts and all that, thank you. Tell your friends, like us, do all that good stuff so we know that you're out there. Uh,
Absolutely.
yes, and then definitely visit Karen's newclevelandradio.net platform. Plenty of other podcasts there for you to listen to and enjoy, and I think you will. Okay, let's get right to it with the weird news for the week. I do want to mention, if you're not watching on YouTube, we do have some pictures that I show that go along with some of the stories. And what I will do is describe the pictures, but you do yourself a favor and look us up on YouTube and take a look at some of those pictures because we do have a fun with them as well. So what are we going to talk about today, one day early on What in the World? The Pope met Spider-Man. This is superhero meets superhero, I guess. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. A real life Tarzan, a human superhero
Really?
in Vietnam. Yeah, we're going to visit Vietnam and learn a little bit about him. Uh, Bees, immortal bees, are appearing in South Africa. They clone forever. We're gonna find out about that. We're gonna go to Pennsylvania to a Home Depot where people were exorcising, not exercising, exorcising a tree, and they got in trouble for doing that. We're going to learn a little bit about how to exercise a tree, exorcise a tree. And if you've ever wondered about what the astronauts do when their clothes get dirty, we're going to find out about that as well. Be ready, it's gross.
Oh, thanks.
And we're going to learn about some new human species they found in Israel and China. Some weird sports with John, as always, and some trivia and all kind of other stuff. Oh, some world records as well. So let's get right to it as we always do. This I think is one of my favorite stories of the week, and that's Pope Francis meeting Spider-Man. It's a true story. There's the Pope shaking the hand of Spider-Man right there.
Wow.
How about that? So this was at his weekly audience, and at the end, he wasn't expecting this. Spider-Man walked up to him and gave the pontiff a souvenir mask. So when the Pope is back in the Vatican and nobody's around, he can pretend to be Superman himself.
Spider-Man.
Yes. Now, so the Pope was shocked. And once he got over his shock and found out that Spider-Man could speak Italian, he asked him if he would go up on the top of the Sistine Chapel, because there were some cobwebs up there and some other stuff that he wanted to touch up. And Spider-Man said, "No, I'm not that guy." Unfortunately, this guy is a superhero nonetheless. He dresses like Spider-Man and goes to visit kids in hospitals and entertains them. So that's a pretty nice thing to do. I would vote him as a junior superhero.
Oh, I think so. That sounds, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So now I wondered if the Pope actually knew who Spider-Man was. And the other thing, before I knew what the guy did, I wondered if the Pope's hands got sticky from shaking Spider-Man's hand, because Spider-Man is sticky all over the place. That's how he gets around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised, as a matter of fact, and I'm a big follower of Spider-Man, why he doesn't, when he lands after flying all over the place, he doesn't have paper and plastic bags and dead birds stuck to him from being so sticky. He must have control over that somehow. If anybody can help me with that.
I don't have a clue.
I know Karen does. She doesn't like spiders to begin with.
So. I'm just looking at, the Pope. He doesn't look like he's looking at Spider-Man. He looks like he's looking off to the side, like saying, "What the H is going on here?"
Or maybe Wonder Woman is in line right behind Spider-Man.
Oh, well, that's a possibility.
He's checking out.
Yeah.
Pope is checking out Wonder Woman. Believe it or not, and that's a good point, Karen. The Pope, I don't know if he's ever met Spider-Man or if he knows it, but the Pope has met other superheroes. And I've got pictures of a couple of them. Here's one that he met recently.
Oh.
That is Arnold Schwarzenegger, who has played that famous superhero Kindergarten Cop, along with the Terminator and Conan the Barbarian. So it appears that the Pope knew who Arnold Schwarzenegger was. I don't know
wow.
how.
Yeah.
Now, the Pope also met some other superheroes that I know you know who these people are, John. That would be the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, very good. The superstars of basketball. They're teaching in this photo. They're teaching the Pope how to spin a ball on his finger.
Yep.
Which I know is not his ring finger, because that's the one you're supposed to kiss, and I don't think anybody's allowed to touch that one.
Right.
So I don't know if they taught him how to dunk. That would have been a fun thing to see. Is the Pope.
Expected. It would be a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they all went to confession, and he forgave them for fooling the referees so often.
Very good.
Now, another superhero, and John, you'll relate to this one. Here's another superhero that the Pope has met, and that's a nun. I've always believed that nuns were superheroes, because growing up, when we were going to school, they sometimes were able to corral 60 screaming kids with nothing but a yardstick. Now, I don't think Superman could do that, and he had a cape.
Yeah.
I think the habit kind of is close to a cape.
Our nuns used to call them the Board of Education. That's what it was.
The yardstick was the Board of Education.
Board of Education.
Interesting.
I have to remember that one. I never heard that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, sure.
Board of Education. They were wooden. Thank God they didn't have the metal ones, John, or we would still be limping.
That is right. That is very, very true.
So some people have imagined the Pope as a superhero. And here's a picture of the Pope as Superman.
Oh, hey.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah,
He's got a
good.
halo, Superman with a halo,
Yep.
Yeah.
with an F instead of an S, I guess, for Francis or Funky Man.
Yeah.
And I ended up hanging around. I must be just icon. And then here's another one, him of the Pope flying. So how
like the
about that?
Flying Nun.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, I think.
Uh-huh.
I don't think the Flying Nun had to stick her arm out like Superman in order
Yeah,
to
well,
fly.
you're right. Yeah.
She just stuck her hat into the wind and
Yep.
off she
Was
went.
able to take off somehow.
Yeah, yeah. So how about that? So let's go from the Pope didn't set any world records while he was meeting with Superman, but another guy did. This guy's in England. 23-year-old man in England set a Guinness World Record by stacking 5 M&M candies, the plain ones, that remained stacked long enough to satisfy the Guinness judges that he indeed had set a world record. And if you're wondering what that looks like, if you can't imagine it, there's the 5. That's the actual stack of 5 M&Ms. That would be red, green, yellow, brown, and red on the bottom again. He repeated himself. So that's pretty impressive. Although he's 23 years old, it sounds to me like this guy is destined for a life stacking groceries.
I think so.
Well, there's an example of it right there. Sure.
There you go. Perfect example. He obviously too much time on his hands. He blamed it on COVID, but I don't know. A lot of these people are blaming it on COVID. I think they're just bored.
Yes.
And this is the kind of thing that is usually the result of a bar bet. We have talked about the British and their bar bets on our show before.
Yes, we have.
But they didn't melt in his hands, melt in your mouth, not in your hand. But they did. He was sweating profusely and crying occasionally, and I think that affected some of them as well. So he had to use dry M&Ms. That was in the rules. But speaking of the bar bet, I can't remember ever going into a bar where they served M&Ms. So I don't think you would see this in a bar. In fact, if you brought M&Ms into a bar, the first thing they would do is check your ID.
Probably.
Right?
Right. Sure. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, so we was on the subject of sports here for a second. I'll take that down here. So this one comes from Europe, so from France. A group of French fans of the national soccer team wanted to see the French team, which won the World Cup the last time, play Hungary. So they got on a plane. They followed a bunch of people who looked like soccer fans, got on a plane, and arrived in Bucharest, where they were unable to see the game. Now, why were they unable to see France play Hungary? Because Bucharest is in Romania, and they were playing in Budapest. Very similar, although you would think they live in Europe, they would know the difference between Budapest and Bucharest.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, what's going on here? Wow.
500 miles apart. This is why France never wins any wars. Let's go invade Budapest. Next thing you know, the army's in Bucharest. Believe it or not, these people are not the only people who get Bucharest and Budapest mixed up. In 1992, Michael Jackson did a concert in Bucharest, which is the one in Romania. Mm-hmm. And he comes up on stage and says, "Hello, Budapest." So in spite of that, they let him perform. Also making the same mistake in the same place, Metallica, Lenny Kravitz, and Ozzy Osbourne. Now, the only person in that group I would forgive would be Ozzy Osbourne, because he has no idea where he's at. Without Sharon. Sharon puts a note on the refrigerator. Today, we're in England. If she draws a little bat, that means they're in Des Moines, Iowa, which is where he bit the head off of a bat in a concert in 1982, which was a bad year for Ozzy Osbourne, because if Sharon draws a little Alamo on her sticker, that means that they're in San Antonio, and that's where Ozzy allegedly peed on the Alamo. Now, I looked it up.
Oh.
You don't remember that, John?
I don't remember that, Paul, honestly.
Oh, I was living in Texas. That's why it's vividly branded into my brain, because everyone was just so livid about it. Turns out it was actually a monument in front of the Alamo. He didn't actually pee on the Alamo itself, but on the monument. Still a bad thing. But one thing I didn't know is that Sharon was with him, and she didn't want it. She knew he had been out drinking all last night, all the night before. She didn't want him to go out, so she hid his clothes. So not only did he pee near the Alamo, he was wearing a dress.
Oh my gosh.
That's a rock star for you. Peeing on a sacred monument in Texas while wearing a dress. And yet, John, they let him perform. He immediately apologized. They donated $10,000 to the Daughters of the Alamo or some organization like that. Okay. And they let him do his 2 shows anyways.
Wow.
Now, speaking of music, this music story comes from Australia. These 2 twins, also 2 people who got bored during the pandemic. They were music producers. They ran a disco, and they couldn't open their disco during the pandemic. So instead, they opened this. I'm gonna show you a picture of what they actually opened. Those are our M&Ms. So they opened this here. This is the world's smallest disco.
Yeah, I think so.
It's measures. It's a mobile disco. Measures 5 foot by 2.5 foot by 6.2 feet. They claim, and you can see the outside of it on the right, and the inside on the left, the inside on the right. They claim that little box can hold 7 people, including the DJ and all of that equipment. Now,
believe that. Hard to believe that.
This is a shipping container. I don't see an air conditioner in there.
No.
The only disco song that they should perform in here is "Hot, Hot, Hot." Which I'm going to ask the question, because since you both, I think, recognize that song. John, who did that song?
David Johansen.
David Johansen, performing under his pseudonym.
Buster Poindexter.
Buster Poindexter. Oh, very good. John gets a double word score there. For Karen, there's Buster Poindexter for you. You may remember his hair.
Yes.
That is the great David Johansen, lead singer for
New York Dolls.
New York Dolls. John, were you a fan of the New York Dolls?
Yeah, actually, I was.
I need to hold my jaw to be prepared to be shocked. I didn't realize that you were a New York Dolls fan.
I had a friend of mine that was into punk music, and he's into the Ramones and those folks. And so, I listened to that music. Yeah.
Well, but I did enjoy them. I wouldn't have called them punk. I would have called them more glam rock. I think they were, but I guess they were on the border between glam rock.
Kind of, yeah, right.
Punk. Now, I want to go back to this disco for a minute. Now, I've actually danced in a space that small.
Really?
Yes. We were at a party. I was there with the lovely Donna, and I started to dance, and she pushed me into a closet so no one would see how bad I danced.
What do you think, Karen? That was a good setup by Paul.
Yeah, that was.
So yes, I have danced in a place that small. So,
and the name on the shed here is the Doof Shed. Is that what it's called?
The Doof Shed. Yeah. That's
short for doofus?
No. It's an Australian term.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. It may have been the name of their nightclub, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
But it doesn't mean doofus.
Okay. I was just curious.
Be careful if you say that to an Australian, because they have knives. So
could be funny words, I guess.
There's a Paul Hogan reference there. Crocodile Dundee. There we go.
Sure.
So anyway, so while we're down in Australia, let's hop an island over to New Zealand. This is a great story here, Karen. Be ready for this one.
Okay, I'm ready.
So this lady had a pain in her nose for over 30 years and the doctors could not figure out what the problem was with her nose. And finally, COVID answered it. So if you remember back at the beginning of the coronavirus, many of us were getting tested. And the way you got tested was they shoved that yardstick long probe.
Oh, it's not that bad. I'm going again tomorrow. Stop.
Oh, you are. Oh, well, they don't even stick it up your nose anymore. When
Yes,
I
they
went
do.
for mine, really,
Yeah.
I had one where they just touched the inside of the
Oh.
nostril and said I was okay. Well, I was okay as far as COVID was concerned. They didn't know about anything else. They didn't probe that deep. So anyway, this poor lady can't breathe. She's concerned she might have the coronavirus. She goes to the hospital, and this is what they found. Oh, that's Buster Point. They found Buster Poindexter up her nose. They found this inside her nose.
Is it a grape?
Yeah, that is a tiddlywink.
A tiddlywink.
A tiddlywink.
If you remember, tiddlywinks was one of our sports.
Yes, it was, John. And I'm going to ask you some trivia about that tiddlywink in a second. I'm glad you're prepared. Believe it or not, they removed this tiddlywink that had been in her nose for 37 years.
Oh my.
So, believe it, this is the best part. She had to think for a second how it could have possibly gotten up her nose. And what she remembers is she grew up in a family of 8 kids. She was the youngest with 7 brothers and sisters. And they used to play tiddlywinks. And when they got bored, they would shove tiddlywinks up their nose.
Oh, gosh.
And then exhale to see who could shoot the tiddlywink the farthest.
Goodness. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
But one day, she sticks it up there too far and she can't blow it out. So she's afraid to tell her mother. And so she went, she thought, well, maybe it'll come out by itself. And then, believe it or not, she forgot about it. So that's how the tiddlywink ended up. Now, John, based on the size of that thing in her finger, what piece of the tiddlywink game would you say that was? Would it be the let me think. The wink or the squidger?
I'm going to say that looks like the squidger. Look how big it is.
The squidger. No, it was a wink. No, I think the perspective is off. The wink that squidger, Karen, is the piece that you use to pop the winks.
To pop it, yeah.
Yeah, into the pot, they called it. And yeah, John is right. It dates back to 1860. We did that for one of our sports. Developed in England. I don't think it was during a coronavirus or a plague or anything like that. I think it was one of those pub things, I'm sure. So my question is, why would you stick a tiddlywink up your nose when you have 10 perfectly good fingers that you could use? But and John, I don't know if you remember this, but very deep in the rules and terminology of tiddlywinks, they actually have a term for sticking a wink up your nose. Do you remember what that was?
No, I don't recall, but there is a term. I know there is
a term. Stupid. That's what it is.
Touche, Paul. Touche. So was that is that the wink itself, or is it the squid?
That is the actual wink. Yes.
That's the wink. Okay, it is a wink. Okay.
There's a slight snot on the side. I'm surprised she didn't clean it up.
Need to have, Paul. That's what we need to know. That's for sure.
She's obviously. I'm gonna say it. She could have painted her fingernails too while she was holding. Anyway.
Yeah, she could. Yeah.
Okay, so now we move from New Zealand to Vietnam. I love this story here. So this guy, he was 8 years old in 1972. And that was during the war in Vietnam. So he and his father and his brother escaped into the jungle and never came out. They lived in the jungle all this time, where he became basically a real life Tarzan. They would eat monkeys, snakes, lizards, rats. They had he and his brother had no idea what a woman was because they couldn't remember that.
Wow.
And they were finally rescued recently, and now they're learning how to live as humans again. I've got a picture of this guy. Now, he doesn't look like Tarzan in this picture. He's got a big basket on his head. He looks like Boy. Remember Boy from the Tarzan movie?
Yeah.
He looks more like Boy than Tarzan. Mm-hmm. And he still likes eating rat heads, which I think means he hasn't gone out on a date yet, for dinner. Because that would certainly cause him to not learn more. He'd learned something very important about women if he did that. So, anyways, no, if it's not Boy, he also looks like Cheetah's good friend Edgar, his albino friend. I blew that joke. I left the albino part out.
Yeah.
Just have been an Edgar Winter reference for all
Okay.
of playing at home.
Sure.
So, John, you remember, and Karen, you remember Boy from the Tarzan.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was played by an actor by the name of Johnny Sheffield. And an interesting story about how he became Boy. Here's a picture of the entire family here. That's Jane, Tarzan, Boy, and Cheetah, each one with their own individual vine, standing on a tree limb in some Hollywood studio. So Johnny was the son of a British actor by the name of Reginald Sheffield, and they're living in Hollywood. And he's 7 years old, and his father sees an ad in Variety that says, "Do you have a Tarzan Jr. in your backyard?" And it was an ad. They were looking for to add a new character to the Tarzan movies. He wins the job. In 1939, he appears in his first movie, Tarzan Finds a Son, with Tarzan, Johnny Weissmuller, and Jane. John, you remember who played Jane or Karen?
No.
I don't.
Maureen O'Sullivan.
Oh,
Wow.
And Cheetah was played by Cheetah.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is interesting. So the premise is that Boy's parents got killed in a plane crash in Africa, and Tarzan and Jane found him and they adopted him. Interesting fact: Johnny Weissmuller was an Olympic swimmer. In fact, he won 5 gold medals in swimming. In 1924, he won the 100-meter freestyle and was on the 4x200 relay team. In 1924 in Paris. In 1928, he won those same 2 events in Amsterdam. And he also was on the water polo team, which won a gold medal. So that's your 5 right there.
Wow.
He was on the 400 freestyle. He won a bronze medal for water polo. So this guy's a swimmer. He's obviously a swimmer.
Sure.
The Boy had no idea how to swim. So he tells the story that when no one was looking, he went with Tarzan, with Johnny Weissmuller, and told him he didn't know how to swim. He says, "Okay, I'll take care of you." So he throws him into the pool, and then he jumps in with him, and he teaches him enough that he could get by, so that they didn't kick him off the shooting because Weissmuller liked little Johnny. Maureen O'Sullivan didn't know how to swim either, by the way. But no one cared because, Tarzan could carry her around in a little skimpy outfit.
Yep.
And didn't really matter. They were in, I think, a dozen movies together. Boy eventually grew up and became teen, and that was the end of it. His last movie was Tarzan and the Huntress, 1947. But I don't know if you remember this, John. He then became Bamba the Jungle Boy. And he appeared in like 6 or 7 movies by himself as Bamba the Jungle Boy with Cheetah. I don't have a picture of Bamba, but he looks the same as he did, just a little older.
Didn't know that, Paul.
Bamba, I remember seeing his picture. Remember seeing a couple of his movies, but I didn't remember that he was the same Bamba. So how about that? So there's a little bit of movie trivia for you.
That's
there.
good trivia. Very good.
1930, 1940s. We still talk about Tarzan. There hasn't been another Tarzan like Johnny Weissmuller, I don't think.
No, he's the standard, obviously.
He is the gold standard, the gold medal standard, you might say.
You got it.
Yes.
There you go. Okay, watch my time here. Okay, so now we move from the jungle to the beehive and killer bees. Now we all know what killer bees look like. They look like this right here.
Saturday Night Live.
There you go. These are the killer bees from Saturday Night Live, the early days, which again, I think we'll all agree were the best years in the
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, of course.
So our story is not about killer bees or murder hornets. And Karen, I'll do you a favor and not show you a picture of a murder hornet.
Well, thank you.
But researchers in South Africa have found the African Cape honeybee, which can create perfect copies of themselves, which means they can clone themselves into immortality. They no longer need to reproduce. And what they're doing is creating armies of bees, and they then attack other beehives. I got to make this into a movie. I'm thinking, maybe Mothra versus the immortal bees, something like
Oh,
that.
Mothra, yes.
Yeah, the bees just keep coming and coming and coming, and Mothra doesn't know what to do. He calls Godzilla. Godzilla says, "Hey, you're on your own on this one." But the female worker bees, they don't need a queen, so they just use the female worker bees, and somehow they mess with their own DNA to create eggs that are exact copies of them, that create bees that are exact copies of themselves. Strangest thing. The researcher said they've never seen anything like this. Armies of identical bees is what they end up with, which is a problem for the generals of the army, because they all want to be in company B. And that's my pun segue to the song that came from. Do you remember what song that is?
Oh.
Of Company B.
Yeah.
Boogie Woogie Boy.
Boogie Woogie Bugle
Yep.
Boy. Thank you, John.
Of Company B. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. And who sang it? Karen, we'll throw this one to you. Who is the original singer?
I can picture it, but I can't
picture them. That's right. I have a picture of them right there.
Was it Glenn Miller's band?
No.
It
was the three ladies in the middle. Those were the Andrews sisters.
And Abbott and Costello.
Right.
1941 was when, and they debuted that song, which is I'll explain why Abbott and Costello are in the movie. Yep. They debuted that song in a movie called Buck Pirates, where they starred. This was like the first Abbott and Costello movie as well, and they almost won an Academy Award for the song, for Best Original Song. They lost out to Evening in Paris or some crappy song like that. And Buck Pirates was Abbott and Costello's first movie from vaudeville. So if you want to learn about vaudeville and what they did in vaudeville, rent or download or stream or whatever the kids are doing these days, the movie Buck Pirates, because it's nothing but them doing their skits from vaudeville in army outfits, in army uniforms.
Wow.
The director just let them go nuts. Eventually, they had to give them a script because they ran out of skits. Their co-star was Shemp Howard, who went on to fame as one of the Three Stooges, which I thought was interesting. So, and who made that song famous again in 1972? Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, the one that the rest of the world knows.
Was it Bette Midler?
Bette Midler, there you go. Karen, all right, you're catching up on trivia there.
Yep.
Excellent. The Bette Midler. Okay. Let's so I think I can get. Let's talk about the exorcism at Home Depot. This is the way I've never seen this at Home Depot, and I have been to Home Depot. This comes from Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania. Police were called to Home Depot there, where a number of people were performing an exorcism in the lumber aisle for a dead tree, which they knew it was dead. I don't know how they knew that there was a demon in the lumber, but they sent a couple of people to look for lubricant so that they could spin their heads around while they were doing it. But this is a real exorcism. And there's actually a real exorcism procedure for removing demons from trees, which I didn't know. And there's a famous case in Florida, in Port St. Lucie. I have no idea where that is. John, you know where that might be?
Yeah, it's actually more like Central Florida.
Central Florida, okay.
And I think actually, and I forget what made. I think the New York Mets train there. I think
well, they may not after they hear this story.
Okay.
In 1971, a serial killer killed two people and buried them beneath a tree in Port St. Lucie. And ever since, bad things have happened around that tree. There's been satanic rituals. There's been people have seen ghosts of the victims. They've seen hooded characters that weren't human, and so they tried to cut it down. And when they came up to it with a chainsaw, the chainsaws would not work. And when they tried to use a manual saw, a crosscut saw, the teeth on the blade all fell out. When they tried to use an axe, the head fell off the handle. So obviously a bad tree. They tried to take pictures, and the pictures turned out blurry, John, of course.
Of course.
Well, what about all those strange coincidences, Paul? I mean, how do you?
I don't know what's going on there. So finally, in 1992, they called out a priest who knew how to do tree exorcism, and he sprinkled holy water and did all the other things. You know, I command you to leave that tree, go through the knothole here. You know, and apparently they got rid of the demons, but the satanic people still like to come there every once in a while. So my solution to that is put up a ticket booth and charge admission, and you won't see them anymore because they're cheap.
That'd be a deterrent, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're running low on time here. I think I'm going to switch over to John for. Well, let's talk about the astronaut for a second here, because this is an unbelievable story. I thought that astronauts on the International Space Station washed their clothes. They wash their hair. I have a picture of one of them washing their hair, which goes along with this story here. This is how they wash their hair with a bottle. You know, no gravity, so they kind of just squirt something in there, and she shakes her head, and out comes the dirt. And they do have a weird looking shower, which this astronaut is in. That you kind of, I guess you have to close the top, and looks like a giant oatmeal box.
Yeah, it does.
But they're not allowed to use one. They're not allowed to wash their clothes. So what they do is they wear them until they're stiff and toxic, and then they shove them into a cargo ship, and they release it and let them burn into the atmosphere. They don't even take them back to Earth because they're so bad. Wow. So you know, so it's the so NASA has teamed up with Procter & Gamble to come up with a solution, because this is the same problem they're going to have when they go to Mars, when they've got even more astronauts and a longer trip. So Procter & Gamble has come up with some stain remover, a little Tide stick, and some kind of spray like Febreze that they're testing on the space station, which I don't think it's going to work. I mean, you know, it's in space, no one can hear you say, "Gee, you really stink." So they're sending this stuff up there, but they're working on actual washers and dryers that they will install on the International Space Station. Tiny little washers and dryer, except they have to use recycled urine and sweat and anything else that they have up there in order to wash their clothes, which means they're not going to smell much better than before they took them off. It's kind of like a never-ending cycle. You sweat, and then you wash your clothes with sweat. Just doesn't seem to work. But the astronauts all agree they have to exercise. They exercise 2 hours a day, and to keep their bodies in shape and their bones solid. And so they sweat for, you know, every day. They're not allowed to wear them for more than a week. After a week, they're definitely ruled toxic by NASA.
Wow.
So if they put these washers and dryers up there, what's going to happen next? You know, they're going to be getting ready to go out on a spacewalk, and they can only find one sock. And, you know, this is not good. What are we going to do? They have to duct tape a sock onto their foot. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a good plan to me.
No, it doesn't.
But I'll tell you what is a good plan, and that's switching over to What in the World of Sports with John Dinallo. Every week, I challenge John to find a sport that, well, number one, a sport that he and I might be able to do. And that's generally the case. But would we want to do them? Would we want to be seen in public doing them? That's a different story.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So this week, John has a sport that you might be able to participate in, Karen.
Okay.
Yeah. So, John, why don't you take it away with the sport of the week?
It will do, Paul. Thank you. Hey, so
I get ready to put a photo up here.
Okay. Hey, our sport today is foot golf, which is exactly what the name says. It's golf played with your foot instead of clubs.
Good. Foot
Now,
golf,
foot golf.
not,
Okay.
not golf foot. I
No,
think
it's foot.
which is
It's
a medical
foot.
condition.
Yeah,
Foot golf.
foot golf.
Okay, foot golf. I got you, John. All right.
So the ball that is used, it's a regular soccer ball, and the hole is 1.7 feet in diameter.
Okay.
The winner is the foot golfer who completes the course in the fewest number of kicks.
Kicks
This-
like kicks.
Kicks, yeah. Well, you know,
Okay.
taking the soccer ball, from hole to hole.
Kind of looks like this.
Yes.
Yeah, there we
Oh.
go.
Very
Nice
right.
big
Okay.
hole, but you got to be careful not to step in the hole.
No, you can't do that. But anyway, the sport is international. And,
International sport.
and to Karen, and to everyone else's interest, it's regulated by the Federation for International Foot Golf.
Oh, of course.
Federation. I love that.
Oh, yes. And there's also a companion organization that's in the US, and that's called the American Foot Golf Federation. So we have two organizations that are well recognized.
Wow.
Now, the forerunner to foot golf, there was code ball, which was popular in the US during the late 1920s and the 1930s. Code ball
Code ball.
was played with a 6-inch rubber ball, but the rules were the same as golf. Michael Jansen and then Bas Korsten of the Netherlands created foot golf in 2008, basing it on a training activity that was used by soccer teams.
So 2008. So a fairly modern sport.
Yes, Jansen and Korsten also developed a dress code for foot golf. So there's a dress code. For a golf cap is optional, but collared shirt is required. A belt is optional. Golf shorts is required. Knee-high socks, turf or indoor soccer shoes, and again, no soccer cleats can be used.
Oh, okay. So we have a picture up here, and a couple of these people seem to be violating the rules of
Yeah, I'm
the
noticing that.
international
Yeah.
rule. Yeah. They
Right.
don't have knee socks on,
That's right. That's
but
right.
they do have very impressive hats. A couple of them do have golf hats.
But again, the hats are optional. They're
Yes,
optional.
and this is a co-ed sport. We have ladies
Ladies as well as men, right? Sure.
foot golfers. Be
Yes.
careful what I say here.
Now, like golf, the player must mark their ball in foot golf so it doesn't interfere with other balls.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
If your ball hits a water hazard, you can play it if it is not floating, but you must take a penalty stroke if it floats away, because that does
So-
happen.
So the courses are like regular golf courses. They have
Yes.
water hazards and sand traps and all that stuff.
It's exactly right.
Wow.
So when putting on the green, you can use the toe or instep of your foot, but not the sole of your shoe to roll the ball. There's an example right there.
There's a putter.
Yes.
Couple of
So
they have long pants on. Violation.
Yeah. Yeah.
it is
It was a stroke or a kick or something.
And if you're wondering when the first ever foot golf tournament was played,
When
yeah.
was it played?
it was played. Karen, I can't tell you that it was played, but I can tell you where it was played. It was played in the Netherlands between Dutch and Belgian professional footballers or soccer players, as they're called in Europe. It quickly expanded to Belgium, Hungary, Argentina, the U.S., and many other countries.
This is a picture of the French team.
Okay, by
Very
2014,
stylish.
yeah, very
Yes.
stylishly, yes. By 2014, the game was offered at hundreds of courses in the U.S. And in December of 2015, the Swedish Golf Federation accepted and approved foot golf as an official sport, making it eligible for future inclusion in, yes, you guessed it, the Olympic Games.
I like that. I like that idea. Better than
Really?
skateboarding and some of these other sports that
That
are
are
anything.
included,
Foot
right.
golf. I
So-
like that.
The sport has financially saved many struggling golf courses, and the PGA and the World Golf Foundation have both acknowledged foot golf's contribution to helping golf courses generate more income. By
Now
20
that's a nice thing. They
It is a good thing. By 2020, the State Games of America and the USA Master Games have included the sport of foot golf in their official competitions. So it's getting some traction, so to speak.
this is the American football, the
I
U.S.
see, with-
football, the foot golf team right here.
with the mascot. Mhm.
Yeah, with their man. Yeah, a lion. Don't ask me to explain why they have a lion.
Yeah.
Although, what would you have? A birdie, an eagle,
Oh, I like that. A birdie.
a birdie? Yeah.
Yeah.
Be more appropriate. Yeah.
I don't know what a
So,
bogey looks like, but I guess don't suppose you'd want to have one of those.
unless it's Humphrey Bogart. Oh, it's a bad choice.
Oh, that
Oh.
was good.
Okay. So, and here in Ohio, where we all reside, the Woodland Golf Course in Cincinnati is hosting a tournament in August.
Wow.
And the 2023 Foot Golf World Cup was recently awarded to the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
They get everything down there.
So it's really becoming popular now.
Wow, no kidding. Jeez.
In terms of the competitors, the best foot golf player in the world today is acknowledged to be Englishman Ben Clark. He did not start playing the sport until 2014, but recently he won his third straight foot golf world tour title, beating 3,698 competitors.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people competing, in this
Apparently.
sport. Yeah. UK foot golf's tournament director, Paul Oliver, calls Ben Clark the Tiger Woods of foot golf.
Oh, wow.
I
Oh,
praise
wow.
I
Yeah,
praise.
well, I wonder how he drives. Oh, that's
Oh,
That's uncalled for.
I meant kicks, not
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so to sum it up, folks, golf is frustrating. Soccer is hard.
uh-huh.
Anyone can get a kick out of foot golf.
Oh, John.
Very good, John.
Well put. Well put. Well, so that wasn't exactly a weird sport, was it, Karen?
No, and I think it's something that I could actually play.
You could, yeah.
Yeah.
With,
You know,
with at least one leg. I don't
Yeah.
know if you can you participate with both? Are you there yet?
Oh, yeah, I'm there.
Oh, all right,
Yeah,
good. You know,
yeah.
We're
I'm
all
healed.
dealing with knee surgery, knee rehab. So
Yep.
John would win because he's got two good knees there. So
Well, honestly, folks, this is really kind of more of a mainstream sport compared to what we've had recently.
Right.
no
Absolutely.
kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
So-
you bounce the ball off your head like in soccer?
That I don't know, Paul. I'll have to research. I'll get back to you on that one.
Well, while everybody's pondering that, we're going to move on to our last sport of the day, and that's the one everybody is always waiting for, and that would be Bluff the Co-host.
All
Everybody's favorite weird news game. Once a week, I have 3 stories similar to the ones we've been talking about this afternoon, with the difference being that some may be true, some may be a bluff. Could be 1, 2, or all 3 of them being a bluff. And it's up to Karen and John and those of you playing at home to decide which one is real and which one is a bluff.
Okay.
As always, we allow wagering. And so let's get right to it. Hands on the buzzer, Karen and John, and we'll start with story number 1. Oh, by the way, John, all of these are sports related. So,
Oh, good.
Whoa. Hey.
oh,
Sorry.
You have
Don't
an
worry, Karen.
edge.
Don't worry, Karen. He doesn't give him an edge. Excuse me. Story
Okay.
number 1. A popular holiday in the U.S. is September 19th, which is Talk Like a Pirate Day, where everyone is supposed to say ahoy mateys or RRR. It turns out France has a similar strange holiday on August 12th, which is called Smile Like Mona Lisa Day. As you might have guessed, on Smile Like Mona Lisa Day, everyone is supposed to walk around with a flat smile like the famous painting by Leonardo da Vinci. It's traditional to try and make the person doing the smile laugh. This is taken to the extremes at the Louvre, which is the home of the actual Mona Lisa smile, where an annual contest is held and professional comedians are brought in to try and make the contestants laugh. The winner gets a replica of the Mona Lisa, and everyone in France gets to show the world that they actually do have a sense of humor. Okay, so Talk Like a Pirate Day in the United States, Smile Like the Mona Lisa Day in France. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff?
I think it's real.
Think it's real. Can you smile
Yeah.
like the Mona Lisa?
Heck no.
I don't think that's a
I
bad.
don't even
That
look like her.
That was a pretty definitive answer there. So
Yeah.
we'll better move on to John. Okay. So Karen says it's real. John, how about you?
I'm going to say it's a bluff. I mean, it's
John
kind
says
of
it's
like
a bluff.
making fun out of like a great piece of art. I mean, I think it violates the spirit of a wonderful creation by Leonardo da Vinci.
I want to point out, okay, so John says it's a bluff. I want to point out that there's a number of people around the world who would like to see Jeff Bezos buy the Mona Lisa and eat it. And some of those people are in France.
Wow.
So I questioned that statement about they respect their work of art. And by the way, John, it is Leonardo da Vinci is Italian, so it's not even a French painting.
That's true, but it's a
but,
great
but John, as always, uses his wonderful logic and decided it's a real. Wait, no, let me think.
Said a bluff.
John said it's a bluff. Karen said it's real. Let's check with the judges here. That was a bluff, Karen. I'm sorry. There's no such thing as smiling.
Seriously. Wow.
Although maybe there should be.
There should be.
They better do it before Jeff Bezos eats it. Okay, so the score, let's see, is 1-0 with John ahead. Let's see if you can maintain your streak here, John, with story number 2.
Okay.
Brazilians are known for something that goes hand in hand with bikini waxing, and that would be tanning. However, some health-conscious Brazilians worry about the effects of too much sun, but still want to have fun at the beach. So they've taken to, instead of slathering on, they've taken slathering on sunscreen to the next level with a new sport called ultimate sunblock. Participants bring bags and suitcases full of clothing to the beach and start putting them on piece by piece, all at the same time. They must be completely covered, including their face, with a mask before starting a second layer. The players are eliminated when they can't take the heat and either drop out or pass out. No water is allowed, but you can bring a friend to help peel the sweaty clothes off at the end. Needless to say, ultimate sunblock has become a popular sport during the pandemic, although the event has been protested by real bikini waxers who are losing business as a result. John, the sport is ultimate sunblock from Brazil. They put clothes on to see how many they can put on before they pass out or drop out. What do you say? Real sport or bluff?
Paul, I think that's a bluff also. I mean, it's a bluff. I'm going to say it's a bluff. I can't see people going to the beach to put clothes on. I mean, it's just too strange. Too
strange even for this show?
Even for this show, it's too strange. That's
okay. John says it's a bluff. Karen, how about you? What do you think?
I have to agree. It just makes absolutely no sense. And no, bluff.
No, makes no sense. That would make it the perfect sport for What in the World. But
yeah, it would.
It would.
I think you're both right. It's a bluff.
Okay, good.
God.
Thank goodness. I know. Thank goodness. All right, let's get right to story number 3. Most strange sports in England have their beginnings in pubs and usually involve men. But a new sport is gaining popularity among women. The sport is long-distance bouquet tossing, and it's becoming so popular, some pubs are holding the events weekly, even when they don't have a hen party, which is the equivalent in England of a bachelorette party, where the sport was first thought of.
Established.
I lost my place here. The rules are simple. The thrower, or the bride, tosses a regulation bouquet over her shoulder as far as she can, and the catcher, or bridesmaid, must catch it and then remain standing in that spot until the distance is measured by the referee, or the bride's mother, as they call them. No men are allowed to participate, although most pubs let them watch and wager, of course. The team with the longest toss and catch usually gets free drinks for the rest of the night and a gold garter to wear when they compete again the following week. Okay, Karen. long distance bouquet tossing at the
You know-
pubs in England.
If it's not real, it should be. I think it would be a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Karen would do it.
Yeah,
Drunk or not.
drunk or not.
That's drunk or not. John, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with Karen. I think this is a true story. I mean, I can see how it would get started, and
You can-
especially at the pub and people drinking and what have you. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like it would be a
And
sounds like it
tossing
would
the
be
bouquet for distance, so to speak.
even though I couldn't participate, because
No, you couldn't. You could wager though.
I could wager, yeah. Which is
Well, you
okay.
you could put a dress on and
Oh, that's right. We already know if Ozzy can do it, John, you can do it.
oh, that's right. It comes full circle now. Huh?
yeah.
Okay, John and wait. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say you're both wrong. That's a bluff. There's no such thing as long distance bouquet.
Well, I
tossing.
think we should start it.
I think Karen, I
should.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
There you go. Another sport for Cleveland. Long distance bouquet tossing. We could organize it for bachelorette parties, bridal parties, wedding, rehearsal dinners. I think that'd be fun. A fun
I
thing.
think it would be.
Well, let's see. So John got one right. Karen got none. Is that
None.
correct?
No, Karen got one. I got two.
Oh, Karen got one
Yeah.
and John got two. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. I need a scoreboard here. We need
Yeah.
to put that in
John
the
won again.
Some could say it's
I
being
should have known with a sports bluff there.
Yeah, right.
There you go. Okay, so that brings us to the conclusion of What in the World, which brings us to the conclusion of Bluff the Co-host and the conclusion of What in the World. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank my co-host and old friend John Dinalo for his What in the World of Sports. And of course, every week we thank our producer and media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, Karen Hale, for everything she does at What in the World. Please check newclevelandradio.net for all the podcasts. They're great. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday.
On Tuesday next week. Yes, the day after 4th of July.
Day after 4th of July. That's right. Okay. Have
All
everybody
right,
enjoy your holiday.
Stay
Happy
safe,
4th.